So we'll just take a quick look at the calf just to kind of like know what we're focusing on today. We will just jump onto that one. Where is it? There you got it. Can you see that, guys?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Awesome. So within the calf, the two main muscles that we're going to be looking at, or groups of muscles, is going to be the gastroc or gastrocnemius, which is the two big bulky heads of the calf. Okay, so they are the ones that when you're looking at the calf and you tense it, they make the two big bulky bits towards from halfway up to the top. And then you've got the soleus or soleus, whatever you prefer, which it sits underneath, and it sits underneath the Achilles, and it's far less accessible and far less visible, but you can kind of see it lower down on the calf on the sides. Now, both of them attach onto the Achilles tendon, and so they're both responsible for effectively pointing your toes down. So if you are there with your foot and you go like that, that is your calf doing that, and they're both responsible for that because they both attach onto the Achilles over here. But then the difference between them is the gastroc attaches onto the femur, so the upper leg, so it crosses over the knee, and it's also responsible for contracting or flexing the knee. So when you go from here to here, it's not just the hamstring that's doing that, it's the gastroc as well. So it's kind of, it works in tandem with the hamstring. But they're both responsible for making the ankle flex. So we're going to focus on both of those today. And that's just going to be an example of like where we're going to look. The really nice sweet spot is just in there. See this little hot spot here where everything joins together and the soleus, Achilles, and gastroc all meet. That's like the number one sweet spot. So that's usually where if you get a little cross ball in there, it feels particularly honking. So we'll spend some time there today. Okay.
That was pretty much the vague spot that I said.
Yeah, exactly the one. All right. So we'll start off just having a look at where we're at. So we'll just get ourselves into a squat stance, come down to the bottom, and just see how we're feeling, and just use this as kind of like a bit of a test, but a bit of a kind of like feel where your calves are at. Can you push your knees forward? How does that generally feel getting into the bottom of the squat? Can you get the pressure through the heels and the ball of the foot nice and evenly? And just kind of see how that feels today. If it feels good, awesome. It may feel better in a bit. And if it doesn't feel great, hopefully we can make that feel a little bit better. And the other test we're going to do is we're just going to do the wall test. So if we've got, I don't know, I've got a radiator, but I'll use it nonetheless. So if we start from toe right up to the wall, touch the knee to the wall, and then come away, touch the knee to the wall, and keep coming away until we can't get it, and then work our way back in until we're just at the fringes of our ability to push our knee to the wall whilst keeping the heel on the ground. Once you get to that point, make a measurement, and it could be, a phone is a really good example of being like, okay, so I'm one iPhone length away from the wall, and that's like your baseline, and then we just want to improve that by a little and see if we can get that a little bit closer while still keeping the heel on the ground. Okay, so whether you want to get a tape measure out or if you want to just use some sort of arbitrary measurement like an iPhone, you make your decision there. But have a like a go-to measurement for how good your ankle flexion is, because it's really nice to try and track that over time and just try and improve it, because it will really help in your squats, your running, and just checking on how your calves are doing in terms of tightness. All right, once you kind of got an idea of where you're at on both legs with that one, we are going to start off. We are going to get into the gastroc. So if you're feeling on the calf, if you bring your fingers up on either side and find where the bulk of that muscle starts, and it's up just over halfway up, okay? And we're going to go from there up to just below the knee, okay? So we're going to start off on, if we think about it, the inside of the leg, okay? So where the ball is just off to the inside on that gastroc, and we're just going to start by pulling the toes up towards the knee and then extending them. So finding a pressure point. And what we're really looking to do is like spend a lot of time in a really small area, fix a bit, and then move on. So we'll just find a spot that feels particularly bad doing that, and then just go through some contract and relax there. Now, if you find you're struggling to get pressure there, I don't know if anyone else has got a fractional thing in their house, or a yoga block is a good way. Just put the ball up on something allows you to get a little bit more pressure because your heel won't touch the ground. And just stick in a little sweet spot and just work your way through that. Okay, and we're just thinking of being on the inside of the leg, so the medial side of the leg, so it's closer to the midline of the body, and just on that gastroc, and just sort of have a little hunt around, find a bit that feels particularly bad, just with a little tiny bit of pressure on, and then just contract the foot towards the knee and just work through those bits. You can also move your foot in and out. So you're going through an inversion with the ankle and just working through that tissue, and just spend a good bit of time in that one spot that feels bad before you move on. If you really want to add the extra pressure, you can put your foot on top of the shin, but the calf sometimes will bark a little bit if you do that. If it feels like it doesn't want to release off, then maybe adding extra pressure isn't the way that you want to go. You just want to spend more time there and go through more ankle flexion, just pulling the muscle across that ball. Once you kind of release a bit, move up a little, and we're just going to move up to where the muscle kind of ends on this medial side, on the underside of the calf there, and just keep flexing the foot up, keeping the pressure on there. As you get towards the top, that's where it starts to become harder to increase the pressure. You can put the foot on if you want, or just pop something underneath the ball to jack it up a little bit to help you maintain that pressure. Once you've kind of got all the way to the top, just have a quick scan down through that inside gastroc on the calf and see if there's any other spots that you missed on the way up. Nice. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the ball, we're going to take it across to the lateral gastroc. Okay, so if we're thinking about the outside of our leg, and again, just at that midpoint and a little bit above is where we're going to find that gastroc, the big head of the muscle or the bulk of the muscle. So we're going to turn our foot out to the side. So instead of being straight on, just turned out to the outside a little so we can get onto that outer part of the gastroc. And again, pick a spot and just go through some flexions with the foot where we're just pulling the toes up to the knees, even doing little ankle circles on that spot, moving just a back and forth across the muscle if you find a particularly bad bit. You sometimes find that you're starting to get onto some pretty bad stuff on the outside. If you kind of think about turning your foot from 12 o'clock out towards 9 o'clock and getting into the side of that gastroc there, you can kind of create a bit of a pressure wave where it's pushing the muscle up like this way, and you can just go through some ankle flexions there. And think about working the foot so that you're sort of turning it in and out as well. So pulling the foot across like that, and now that we're onto the side of the leg, we want to try and work on, is it eversion? I think it's eversion. That's the foot. Some weird word like that. But yeah, just rolling your ankle either way, basically, and just sitting it down onto there. And work all the way up until you get to what doesn't feel like muscle anymore on the outside of the leg there. All right, and then we're just going to hop up. And just see how that one feels. Go for another squat again. See if that feels any nicer. If that's a limiting factor in your squat, it should feel like it enables you to get into a better squat there. And if you want to test that leg against where you were previously on the wall test, wouldn't be a bad idea, and just see if you can get a little bit more distance there. Over time, you will start to find a little bit more you can get out of that. All right, we'll swap to the other side. So if you were on the left leg, over to the right leg. And again, we're going to start on the medial, so the inside. And again, feeling up the leg. When you get to that bulk of the muscle on the calf on the inside, we're just going to place the ball under there. And again, just starting to get that pressure on, pulling the toes up towards the knee. You can, if you're feeling particularly efficient, if you've got two lacrosse bottles, you can either tape them together or you can just put both of them underneath and you can get both heads of the gas stroke at one time. So if you're pressed for time, that's a nice little technique you can use. And you can either use like electrical tape and turn them into a sort of peanut shape by joining them together like that, or you can just leave them separate and just place them underneath and just work on both sides of the calf quite nicely, because you'll find a lot of places on the body have two separate strands of muscle that are separated. So for instance, on your back, on your spinal erectors, on your quads, into your hamstrings, calves. So you actually need two pressure points to really get into those. So it works quite nicely to have two lacrosse balls taped together. And if you find a particularly hot spot, just spend some time there and just keep pulling the muscle back and forth across it. And it'll take a lot of reps to really relieve off any bits if your calves are in a bad way. So you just need to spend some time there, camp out, put a good movie on, and just work your way through them quite gently. And think about like more time, but a bit more gentle with the calf, rather than going full hog and attacking them really, really hard with a lacrosse ball for like 5 minutes. You want to try and feel like you're relaxing the muscle. So if you feel like it's just like tensing up against it, that's not really what we want. So we want to think about, if you want to, you can tense the muscle, but then you want to relax it and just try and let it melt over the lacrosse ball.
But then if you flex your foot, is that not going to tense the muscle?
No, because when you're flexing the foot, that's actually the muscles at the front of your shin that are flexing the foot. So when you go into flexion here, you are using your tibialis. So the muscles in the back on your calf don't actually tighten actively. They will be pulled, but that's what we want to do. We want to basically add this pressure point and then just pull the muscle across it, but in a passive manner. So our other muscles are taking the brunt of the actual activation, and then you're just passively pulling the other muscle across it.
Okay, cool.
You can do a contract and relax. So if you find a really bad bit that actually you just don't want to flex your foot in at all, just think about, try tensing the calf and then relaxing it. So you just try and tense the muscle and then just relax it and let it sink a little bit deeper, and then contract and relax. And you can find that can sometimes unknot some particularly bad bits that you don't want to roll across. You just want to try and camp out there and let it melt in. All right, let's switch on to the lateral. So outside of the calf, onto the other big head of the muscle there. And again, just start about just above halfway up the leg or up the calf, and then just pulling into flexion, finding a sweet spot, and then spending some time there. If it doesn't feel too bad in one area, don't spend any time there. It's probably not worth your while. Find the bits that feel the worst.
My calves surprisingly feel okay. Comparison.
Chris, how's the Murph training going?
All right, ish. We do some air squat.
Hey, the air squats are not the problem in that workout. The amount of time during that workout that you spend in a child's pose, just wishing it would end, because you can't get any more push-ups out.
It's a mile on either side.
Mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats.
Jesus.
I don't think I'd ever do it unpartitioned. That would just be lunacy. Like
No.
doing it as just doing 100 pull-ups and then moving on to the push-ups would be horrific.
Yeah, doing it as the sets was manageable when we did that. Well, we only ever did a half anyway at the gym, I think.
Or would you say like do 10 push-ups?
Where we did.
Pull-ups?
We did that time.
Yeah.
Rounds of Cindy is the best way to do it. So you do 5, 10, 15.
Oh yeah.
And I just go through like that.
20 rounds of Cindy.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
There was a video on YouTube the other day of a guy doing Murph every day for a month.
Oh god.
There's a guy that's done it every day for 365 days.
What?
Yeah.
Is he not bored?
I mean, he's the only person in the world that's ever got good value at their weight vest. Everyone else buys one with this idea that they're going to be the ultimate training tool. They're going to be a beast by the end of the first month, and then they go out for one run at it and just destroy their calves.
So I shouldn't get one then.
I wouldn't for most things. Like if you've got really good pull-ups and you want like really good strict pull-ups, like more than 10, and you want to try and get more of them, then it's a good training tool.
Okay.
If you've already got like 25 unbroken push-ups, then it'd be a good training tool. But until that point, like just keep working on those things.
No.
A weight vest sponsored by Ginsters.
Yeah. It's the nicest feeling if you get put a weight vest on, and then just start taking the weight sacks out of it, and it's like the feeling of weight loss but condensed into a really short period of time. Even taking it down from like 10 to 8 kilos just feels lovely. All right, and let's just have a test of how that squat feels. And if you want to retest the wall test, feel free. See if you can get a little bit more distance there. Now, for some of us, like the calf isn't the restricting part in the ankle mobility, so you might find that your ankle flexion isn't massively improved by loosening off the calf. So it really depends on where your restriction is in the ankle, but if it is the limiting factor, then you will see an improvement in the wall test. If it's not, if you're not seeing improvement in the wall test from working on the calf, then that might not be your main limiting factor in ankle flexion, and it might be looking more down at the actual the structures within the ankle itself, and doing some other more brutal things to some smaller muscles. But yeah, so it's good to know what's going on there, and if you find you're getting improvement in that wall test from it, great. What we will go on to now is we'll get into the bit that we mentioned, that sweet spot where the soleus meets the gastroc. So we're going to go into the back of the calf. If you flex the calf where there, and right into that spot there. Okay, so we're going to go right in the middle instead of being on either side. Place the ball directly in that spot. Other leg on top, and again we're just going to flex through that. And then relax. And you can try hunting about like a centimeter either way, up and down, side to side, and just trying to find the worst bit in there. And then just flex the foot across. If you feel any hot burning, that's not a bad thing. And by putting your other foot on top of the shin, you'll just increase the pressure on that. Other things you can do is if you've got like a sandbag or a weighted bag or anything like that, and you've got a foam roller, you can do kind of similar things. Or if you've got a friend who particularly doesn't like you, getting them to help you with that by applying pressure to the shin while you're on a foam roller can be really, really useful. But yeah, sandbag is the sort of the personal way to do it. Or if you've got a friend there, you can just get into apply pressure to the shin and kind of work across that calf. Once you've got some pressure applied there, you can try and push down a little bit, push to the side, and kind of work across those parts, try and find what feels the worst. If it is just that nice little sweet spot right where the gastroc meets the soleus, then just spend time there and just flex the foot through, toes away, toes towards you, and try and release that off. Or increase the pressure by going up on an elevated surface, putting the foot on top, and just camp out there for a little while. You can even just like place the ball there and just chill. Place the ball there with the foot on top and just let the weight carry on down. See how that feels for like 30 seconds, and then pull the toes towards you once it's really relaxed, and then go again. You might also find that if you take yourself into a nice tall position and then fold forwards and really pull yourself down towards that, that might increase the intensity of the stretch because you've got some of your body weight carrying down and really pushing down on that calf. But also you are tightening the gastroc because the gastroc attaches across the knee. So if you're getting into what you would consider like a hamstring or forward fold stretch, you will start to put a little bit more pressure onto the gastroc, not necessarily the soleus, but the gastroc itself. And if you have, once you've released that bit off, have a little hunt around. If there's nothing else that feels particularly bad on that one, can move across the other side. Again, just find that sweet spot where everything kind of all meets, and it'll be basically where the bulk of the calf ends is that, and right in the middle is the spot that we're kind of looking for. But hunt around, see where it feels the worst. For some reason, this leg feels absolutely fine, but the other one felt horrible. But that's just the way it is. Sophie, you find out where you're going to be stationed yet?
Not yet, no.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if they've forgotten about me or I don't know.
Wow.
I might have to move house, I might not, I don't know.
That's wild.
It is.
Wow.
You hope that the longer they leave you hanging, the more chance you've got of staying in the local area, not having to get rid of your house and find accommodation and stuff, I guess.
That's true. Yeah, hopefully.
Right.
It'd be wild if, like, a few days before you're supposed to be starting, they're like, actually, it's Thursday.
It's Shetland.
Yeah. Off to those tier 1 islands with you.
I don't even know how you'd find a house to rent in Shetland.
There's no such thing. I think it's called a tent, Sophie.
Yeah, I'll take my tent.
Yeah.
I could put a few tents up and have like different rooms and different tents.
Oh yeah, like a shanty town.
Yeah.
Yeah. The nomadic people of Shetland, aka Sophie.
The police. The police live in that tent village over there.
The police headquarters.
The police headquarters just blew away in gale force winds.
Get a few ponies and tie them to them so they can weigh them down.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully I find it soon.
Yeah. I mean, what's the date you're supposed to start again?
Well, I'll be at the college for the first 3 months, so it's not.
Oh, okay.
Difficult, but in terms of Connor and finding a job and stuff, it's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I start on the 29th. But I was supposed to find out at the end of last week where I was going to be.
Yeah.
But there's just so many people involved in the process. I mean, the recruitment guys are in Aberdeen, then it gets passed down to the people down in Ayrshire, then it gets passed to the chief constable, and then it gets passed up to Highlands and Islands division, and then they make the decision. So
Oh wow.
I don't know who.
Always a police Scotland instead of a Highlands and Islands, eh?
Yeah. So it's going through a lot of hands. I don't know where it is in the process.
Okay. Well, that sounds frustrating, but hopefully it all works out.
Hopefully it's Abbymore.
Yeah, hopefully. All right, guys. Let's just have a little look at another little mobility technique we can use on the calf. So this is just a sort of a hands-on self-myofascial release that you can use, and you don't really need any kit for it. So if you think about it, like pointing your toes away, and then from there, you're just going to grip on to the shin and kind of put your thumb into the side of where the soleus will be. So if you think about Achilles tendon, and then just being a thumb width away from the back of that, you're going to place your thumb on and push your thumb up the leg, and then pull the toes up. Okay, and you can use this all the way up the soleus by like digging your thumb in, pushing up towards the knee, and then pull your foot in towards the kneecap. So you can work on the strands of soleus coming up through here, because essentially between the bone there and the Achilles, that's the zone where your soleus is. So placing your thumb on, pushing the skin up towards the knee quite strongly, and then pulling the toes up towards the kneecap, a really nice way of just getting the hands on and releasing off the soleus. And you can do that all the way up. So just keep working your way up, dig in, push up, and then pull the toes up. And then go through. And it's a bit less pressure than you'd maybe get with the lacrosse ball, which is no bad thing, especially if they are particularly sore in the soleus. And you can just work through. And you choose how much pressure by like pushing the thumb in and then up, sliding it up towards the knee, and then pulling the toes up. Okay, and you can do that on the inside quite easily. The outside's not so easy to do, but you can still get into there. Okay, so it's a really nice one you can get into. And like for myself, that's not an area that feels particularly sore on me, so I don't do it very often. But it's a nice one that you can have in your pocket if you've done a particularly brutal run, and they're feeling particularly sore. You can kind of get into those there. We're going to finish up with a stretch for the calves. So we're just going to get into a down dog position. The difference here is what we're going to do is once we're in that down dog, we are going to bend one knee and on the other foot, push the heel to the ground. So we're going to get into about hip width stance with the feet, push the hips nice and high, and then hips back so that we're getting a little bit of stretch in the calves already. And then if we take our right knee and bend it, it'll apply more pressure onto the left calf. And we're just going to stretch in there, and then you can bend the knee on the left and then straighten again and just work through, contract and relax. So you're bringing the knee towards your chest, pushing the hips back, and then extend the leg. And you feel this on the back of the knee a little bit, so you're pulling on the gastroc quite a lot. And that's good, no bad thing. Just go through that sort of relaxation of it by pushing the knee towards the floor or towards your chest, and then extension, pushing the knee backwards. And just go through 10 to 20 reps in that position, and then swap legs. And again, start off in your hip width down dog, and then just bend the left leg, get that stretch into the right, and then bend the knee and extend, bend the knee and extend, and just take yourself through sort of 10 to 20 reps, whatever starts to feel like it's releasing it off. Nice job, guys. And once you've done 10 to 20 on each side, put your feet together, so into a really narrow stance, and just push yourself into the best down dog you can there. Drive your hips back behind you, push your chest through and get a nice deep stretch on both sides. You can start to feel any differences there if one's tighter than the other, and just stretch through that once you've loosened both off, doing the single leg variant. Nice work, guys. And we'll finish up there.
Thanks, Rory.
No worries, guys. Calves feeling a little bit better, Chris?
Thank you very much. I think so. I think so. Yep.
Yeah, it's a sort of little and often with those sort of things. Like, it does take a lot of, in the same way that it takes a lot of reps to build up strength in a muscle, it takes a lot of reps to release off any knots in muscles, and just trying to find those trigger points, like the bits that feel really bad. Spend a lot of time there, and just like make a rule that whatever movie you put on or whatever bit of TV that you're going to work on that one bit of mobility that you need to work on, and just get the reps in. Basically, just a little bit more frequency is super important, because it just, you know, easing those muscles out rather than like trying to really attack them once a week. It's just like ease them out over longer periods of time, and you'll get some good results out of it. Awesome work, guys.
Awesome.
Good to see you all, and yeah, I look forward to seeing everyone next week, which is pretty damn exciting.
Indeed.
In person, live and in person.
Yes.
All right, have an awesome evening, guys. Good to see you all.
See you later.